Hello, and thank you so much for stopping by. Let's make my beginner-friendly pita bread. We start off by stirring the sugar and the yeast into the warm water and let that activate for about 5 minutes until it looks frothy, kind of like beer. If you're using instant yeast, you don't have to, you can just skip this step and just add the yeast straight into the flour and pour the water over it. Salt and yeast don't like each other, so make sure to add the salt to one side and pour the yeasted water, if I can call it that, into the middle of the flour, the flour well, and add the oil as well. Give that a good mix, and then we're going to tip it over onto the kitchen counter and give that a good knead until it comes together and is softer and elastic. If you have a stand mixer, you're more than welcome to use that, but if you don't, the dough can get a bit sticky. So what I like to do is what I call the slap and burrow method, where I smack the dough onto the kitchen counter and I just drag it across and lift it up and smack it again back down, and repeating the same movements until it becomes more elastic. When the dough is ready, you would need to transfer it into a lightly oiled bowl, cover it with cling film to avoid any, drying out, and let that double in size. It will take about an hour or so, depending on how warm your kitchen or your environment is. And now we move on to tipping the dough onto a lightly floured counter and portioning it into the preferred number of pita. For this recipe, it yields about 10. Just see what works for you, because for example, if you're making this for kids as well, they might not be able to eat massive these portions are not as massive, but you know what I mean. The kids might not be able to eat a whole pita as the same as an adult would. So you could make smaller ones, you could make bigger ones, you could shape them into, like a boat, or you could shape them round, or whatever works for you. It also depends on what you're going to serve them with, so just play around with it. Okay, so roll the dough into dough balls and sprinkle some flour over them. Cover them with cling film and let them rest for about 5 minutes. Generously sprinkle some flour on parchment paper and roll the dough to about 1/8 of an inch thick and lay it on the parchment paper, giving room for each one to avoid sticking to each other. Loosely cover them and let them rise for another 15 to 20 minutes. Make sure your nonstick pan is quite hot before you start to cook the pita. What I do is, instead of lifting it off the parchment paper, which might cause it to break, and when it breaks, there are holes, which does not help with creating that steam which is trapped in between the dough that helps it to rise. And you need it to rise so that you can be able to cut through it and fill it up with all your deliciousness. So what you need to do is just gently put it on the pan and let it cook on each side for about 20 seconds on each side. Now it may happen that your pita might not puff up, possibly because there's a hole. As you can see from this, it looks like when I cover up the hole, it puffs up. So in the event that your pita does not seem to rise, but you can be able to hear that whistling sound on your pita, so you can trace where the hole is, just cover it up and hopefully your pita should puff up. And it's as simple as that, really. Your pita is ready. Store them in an airtight container so they're nice and soft for when you want to go for seconds. And should you want to preheat your pita, if you're filling it with chicken or meat, you could either place the pita between a sandwich grill, or you could sprinkle some water on it, wrap it in foil, that is before you put the filling, and put it in a preheated oven at 200 degrees for about 2 to 3 minutes, or until it's hot enough for you. Then proceed to fill it up. I hope you like it. I hope you come back again, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video. See you again soon.